Hi everyone, in this video we will see how to perform a test for two independent population means with population standard deviation assumed given. So to access the test you would need to go to Stat, to the right to Tests, and it's option number 3 to sample z-test. So we are using z-test because population standard deviations are given. So you could scroll down to option 3, hit enter, or type in 3 to go to the test. Two options for input. You could either have data given or you could have statistics given. So let's select data for the first option. And you would need to enter the population standard deviations for population 1 and 2. Come down to enter the name of the list where your data is for sample 1 and sample 2. And if you have any frequencies given, you would enter that in a list also, and then bring up the frequency list names in under FREC 1 and FREC 2. Scroll down and select the direction of the test, which is based on alternative hypotheses. And then you would come down finally to either calculate or you could even draw a graph of the problem. So let's pretend that data is given. How would we enter it into these lists? So for that, you would go to Stat, select option 1 for edit, and you have these lists where you can enter your data. So find an empty list, or if you don't have one, you could go up using up arrow to highlight the name of the list, hit clear, enter to clean up the list. So clear it out, and then you would enter the data by typing in the values and hit enter each time. So you could enter L1 for sample data 1, sample data 2 in L2, and if frequencies are given in L3, and then to the right in L4 for frequency list for the second sample data. And to calculate, you go back to Stat and go to Tests, option 3, and under data you would type in the list names where your data was. So let's pretend our list 1 is in L4. So how would you bring up the list name? So the list names are above the numbers on your calculator here. So to get to L4 you would need to hit second 4, and it will be populated with L4. So that's with the data given. And what if the stats are given? So we'll go up again, and this time select stats, hit enter, and then you have different information to enter. So you would enter population 1 standard deviation, population 2 standard deviation, sample mean 1, sample size for the first population sample, and 1, sample mean 2, and then sample size 2. Scroll down and let's see what else we have. So the rest is the same. So you would need to enter the direction of the test and come down to calculate or draw again. So let's go back to Stat and let's take a look at an example to follow through. So the example we are working on is here. So we have a group of transfer-bound students wondered if they would spend the same average on textbooks and supplies each year at their 4-year university as they have at their community college. So they conducted a random survey of 54 students at their community college and 66 students at their local 4-year university. The sample means were $947 and $1,011 respectively, and the population standard deviations were $254 and $87 respectively. So we need to conduct a hypothesis test to determine if the means are the same or not, and sketch the graph. Okay, so we go back to our calculator, but first, good idea, let's summarize the given information. So let's say the 2-year college, community college, is our population 1, And so we list the sample size for it, 54, sample mean, and population standard deviation. And let's say the four-year college is our population 2 and its sample size is 66, sample mean 1011, population standard deviation 87. So now let's go to our calculator to enter this information into the calculator. So tests, option 3. So we are able to select option 3 because population standard deviation is given. So make sure you're using the right test. And let's type in the information that we have. So population standard deviation 1 was 254. Population standard deviation 2 was 87. Sample mean for the first sample was 947 with sample size 54. Sample mean for the second population was 1011 with sample size of 66. Okay, so you basically type in and hit enter each time. And now the direction. So we are checking to see if the means are the same or not. So there's no direction given in terms of greater than or less than. So highlight not equal to for the alternative. So this selection is always based on alternative hypotheses. So highlight that, hit enter. So we selected not equal to. You come down and hit calculate and you'll get the results screen for the two sample z-test. So you get the z-score for the differences and the probability, the p-value for it, which is 0.077 if you round it to 3 digits. And it will also give you the values that you had entered into the calculator. So you can double check to make sure those are correct as well. And if you need to draw it, let's take a look again. Let's go back to stat tests. Let's make a graph of it also. Option 3. And everything stays the same. We come down. And this time, instead of selecting calculate, we select draw and hit enter. And there's a nice graph. So here's the p-value in both the tails combined, which is 0.077. That means half of it is here, and then the half of it is on the left. Okay, so that's how you conduct a test for two independent population means with population standard deviations given on TI84.